राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी यशोदानंदना व्रज जनरंजना 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 यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी जय जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Jayam Vishnupad Panvam Saha Pravjagacharya Ashtotrajata Shishimad Shila Abhajanan in the Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shila Thakur Haridas Ki Jai Prem Se Gaho Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Radha Kṛṣṇa Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvīpa Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Devi Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Rani Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Harinama Saṅkīrtana Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Iskcon BBT Samsthapak Acharya Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai Shri Shri Lalita Vishakha Sahita Radha Parthasarthi Ki Jai Gau Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gau Premanande All glories to the Samal devotees All glories to the Samal devotees All glories to the Samal devotees All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Jai Shri Prabhupada Hare Kṛṣṇa. Thank you for inviting me to speak a few words this morning about Krishna consciousness. We'll be hearing from the Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And we're in the Ādi dilā, chapter 17, which is entitled The Pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in His Youth. And we have this wonderful translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. How fortunate we are to be here. 100 years ago, Bhaktivinoda Thakur could not even find a copy of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta in West Bengal, where it was written, or where the author came from. So we're so fortunate that even in a place like Delhi, we can read Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. All right, so we're beginning with chapter 17, text number 121. The Lord ordered all the citizens of Navadvīpa to chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra, and in each and every home they began performing saṅkīrtana regularly. Is it okay in English, or do we need a translation? I should have asked. Everyone knows English? Raise your hand if you understand English. Okay, looks like we're all right. Nagariyā loke prabhu yabe ājñā dilā, ghare saṅkīrtana karite lāgilā. The Lord ordered all the citizens of Navadvīpa to chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, and in each and every home they began performing saṅkīrtana regularly. How do they sing? Please repeat after me. Hari Ājñā Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Gopal Govinda Ram Srimad Husudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Srimad Husudan. All the devotees sang this popular song along with the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Rama Srimad Husudan. Mridanga karatala saṅkīrtana mahadhvani hari hari dhvani binanya nahi shuni. When the saṅkīrtana movement thus started, no one in Navadvīpa could hear any sound other than the words Hari Hari Haribol, and the beating of the mridanga and the clashing of handbells. You should make sure that the latter is not more than the former. Purport, wonderful purport by His Divine Grace. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness now has its world center in Navadvīpa, Mayapur. The managers of this center should see that 24 hours a day there is chanting of the holy names of the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra, with the addition of Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama. For this song was a favorite of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu's. But all such saṅkīrtana must be preceded by the chanting of the holy names of the five tattvas, Śrī Krishna Caitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Śrī Advaita, Gadadhara, Śrīvāsādi, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. We are already accustomed to chant these two mantras, Śrī Krishna Caitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Śrī Advaita, Gadadhara, Śrīvāsādi, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, and Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, after these, the other two lines, namely, Hare Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Gopal Govinda Rama Srimad Husudanam, should be added, especially in Mayapur. Chanting of these 6 lines should go on so perfectly well that no one there hears any vibration other than the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. That will make the center spiritually all perfect. Very nice instruction from Srila Prabhupada. Actually, this is in Sanskrit. Hare Nama, obeisances to Hare Kṛṣṇa, O Lord Krishna, Yadavaya Nama, obeisances to Lord Yadava. O Lord Gopal, Lord Govinda, Lord Ram, and Lord Sri Madhusudan. Shuniyaje kruthaila shakala jaban, Gazi pashe asishabe koila nibedan. Hearing the resounding vibration of the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, the local Muslims, greatly angry, submitted a complaint to the Kaji. Purport. The Fauzdara, or city magistrate, was called the Kaji. The zamindars, or landholders, mandaleras, levied taxes on the land, but keeping law and order and punishing criminals was the duty entrusted to the Qazi. What do you have in India instead of the CIA? What is the Indian version? CID, yeah. So if you... Kya? Okay. Whatever. So if you get a call from your tax collector, that's something of a concern. But if you get a call from the CIA or its equivalent, that's something that's very scary. So the Qazi was dealing with those people. Fauzdar. Okay. So both the Qazi and the landholders were under the control of the governor of Bengal, which at that time was known as Subhamangala. The districts of Nadia, Islampura, and Bagyan were all under the zamindar named Hari Hoda, or his descendant known as Hare Kṛṣṇa Das. It is said that Chand Qazi was the spiritual master of Nawab Hussain Shah. According to one opinion, his name was Maulana Sirajuddin, and according to another, his name was Habibara Rahman. Descendants of Chand Qazi are still living in the vicinity of Mayapur. People still go to see the tomb of Chand Qazi, which is underneath a champak tree and is known as Chand Qazi's Samadhi. Raise your hand if you've been to Chand Qazi's Samadhi. Yes, so we know. He's worshipable even by the Vaishnavas because he permitted us to perform saṅkīrtana of these holy names. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan. Krodhe Sandhya Kale Kaji Eka Ghare Ailo Mridanga Bhangya Loke Karite lāgilā. Chand Qazi angrily came to one home in the evening, and when he saw kirtan going on, he broke a mridanga and spoke as follows. Eto kala keho nahi kaila hinduyani ebe jayodhyama chalao karabala jani. For so long you did not follow the regulative principles of the Hindu religion, but now you are following them with great enthusiasm. May I know by whose strength you are doing so? Purport. It appears that from the aggression of Bhaktiya Khilji in Bengal until the time of Chand Qazi, Hindus, or the followers of Vedic principles, were greatly suppressed. Like the Hindus in present-day Pakistan, practically no one could exercise the Hindu religious principles freely. Chand Qazi referred to this condition of Hindu society. Formerly, the Hindus had not been straightforward in executing their Hindu principles, but now they were freely chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra. Therefore, it must have been by the strength of someone else that they were so daring. Actually, that was a fact. Although the members of the so-called Hindu society had followed the social customs and formulas, they had practically forgotten to execute their religious principles strictly. Does it sound familiar? Everywhere we see this. Anyone been to Kerala lately? No, it's pretty far away. Last year I went to Kerala and to visit Guru Vairappan. And I was astonished to see that in Thrissur, throughout the entire city, all the signs were in Arabic language. And all the billboards had pictures of Arab people advertising the products. Every 10 feet, there was a new masjid, either just finished or just under construction, and I couldn't find a temple anywhere. Neither could I see any Brahmins. The first time that I went to Kerala was in around 1987 or thereabouts. And at that time, I saw Brahmins who were dressed like Brahmins and who spoke like Brahmins and who ate like Brahmins and who worshipped like Brahmins. And because they were Brahmins. And where did they all go? Maybe they went in the same direction as all the small little cows that used to populate that part of the country as well. 3/4 size black cows that give very auspicious milk. They're all gone. Don't think it cannot happen in Delhi, since we want to think globally but act locally. You have to bring this home. How does it happen? By being complacent. One devotee that I know went and asked Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, maybe it was Puri Maharaj, I don't remember, but he asked him, what is your frank opinion as to how it is that the Gaudiya Math had fallen apart? And this godbrother answered in one word. Do you know what he said? He said, Adhikar Ulanghana. Adhikar Ulanghana. They thought they were more advanced than they were. Do we think we're more advanced than we really are? What have we got to show for our advancement? How many people in Delhi are sitting here this morning? Just a handful. What is the population of Delhi? Huh? 1.28 crores. So we have some work to do. And those who are real devotees, they do the work of the Lord. What is that work? Very clear instruction given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jare dekhe tare kaha Krishna upadesh, amar ājñā guru hai tare desh. This is the everybody you see. Everybody you interact with in any way, try to elevate that person, however you can. You can't always give the person a book. Not everyone is going to chant Hare Kṛṣṇa. Most people will take prasadam, but even if that doesn't work, somehow or other, you bring that person around to some degree of Krishna consciousness. If we don't take up this responsibility, who will? Nobody else cares. Certainly Donald Trump doesn't care. Vladimir Putin, Li Jinping, maybe Modi cares. But really it's our business. It's our business. So, anyway, as I was saying, in Kerala now, it's all gone, practically speaking. It's been colonized by the not the Britishers, by the Arabs, Abi. 30 years ago, it was Christians were the major minority. I don't think that's the case now. At least it doesn't look that way. And in the same way as Prabhupada mentions in his purport, at one time Pakistan was Hindu. Panchab, 5 rivers. What are those rivers? Anybody know? In Sanskrit, anybody know? Not many people know the Sanskrit names. Anyway, you know the rivers. So, most of them, Vyas. Vyas means actually vipaschit, because one sage, he wanted to kill himself, and he was, I don't remember the story exactly, but he was somehow checked by the gods, and he was released. He tied himself up and threw him in the water. You know the story? Huh? Yes. No, all 5 are holy rivers. So, Sindhu River is also there. Narmada, Sindhu, Kaveri, Jalesmin, Sannidhim Kuru. Sindhu River is there. All the other rivers are also there. Shatadru is another one that's called Satluj. Okay, so anyway, all these places, the whole world, in fact, was Krishna conscious at one point. And now it's been reduced to the South Asian subcontinent. How? By two things. A combination of the Brahminical adhikaru lankana. They consider themselves too advanced to do something, like preaching. Or, on the other hand, the ordinary complacence and attachment. Normally when I give class on Bhagavad Gita, I like to emphasize the connection, which is very clear, between Srila Prabhupada's purports and those that have been given to him by his predecessors, upon which he based his purports. In 99% of the cases, this is how Srila Prabhupada wrote his purports, on the basis of what his predecessors had written before him. Actually, every Vaishnavacharya does this. If you read, let's say, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, you'll see that he follows what Jiva Goswami has said. Jiva Goswami follows what Sanatan Goswami said. Sanatan Goswami follows what Madhvacharya had said, or Sridhar Swami, other acharyas. So, this is the case with most of Srila Prabhupada's purports, but in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text number 10, we find a very important exception to that general rule. Who knows Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text number 10? Very good. He's studying Prabhupada's books. Shabash. Vita raga bhaya krodha putamad bhavam agataha. Krishna says, puta, being purified. How are they purified? First lines. Yes, by the austerity of knowledge, jnana tapasa. And all the acharyas, beginning with Ramanujacharya, who comment on this verse, they say that knowledge is an austerity for at least two or three reasons. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Parthasarthi ki jai, Shri Sitaram ki jai. Knowledge is an austerity because, number one, you have to take the trouble to gather that knowledge. You have to actually open up the book. Hindi mein isko Bhagavad Gita yatharup bolte hain na, yatharup. Lekin अंग्रेजी में इसको Bhagavad Gita as it is bolte hain. So as it is means just leave it on the shelf. You don't have to open it. You don't leave it shrink wrapped. As it is. Koi badi baat nahi. So this is not the case, actually. We go to people's houses. If you ever had this experience, you go on a preaching program, and yes, we have Bhagavad Gita, but it's still shrink-wrapped. He didn't even remove the wrapper. Baba, you have to open the book. So that's the first austerity of knowledge. You have to gather that knowledge. You have to study carefully. There's much we can say about this based on the first, say, 4 or 5 verses of chapter 17, but we don't really have time to dilate on that. Other than I'll say that Baladev Vidyabhushan tells us there are two kinds of faith. There is swabhavik faith. If you're born in India, you have generally more faith than anybody born anywhere else in these principles. That's the great blessing of taking birth. Even in Delhi, at least you know that you're eternal, that you're not your body, that there's life after life, etc. Although people are becoming covered over so fast. So swabhavik faith means that faith that you get through what the scientists call osmosis. Just by, just vatavaran mein. Just by breathing in the air, you get that faith. It's everywhere. Just like if you go to China right now, you'll get coronavirus because it's everywhere. So in India, some degree of knowledge is there. So that's called swabhavik faith. We don't know everything about Bhagavad Gita, but we have the idea, yes, Krishna, Ram, this is Bhagavan, and Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's instructions. Itna jante hain sabko. So that's not enough, Baladev Vidyabhushan says, because all it takes is some really bad association to hit you like a tsunami. And your whole worldview will be changed, and you will go in the wrong direction. So, or the modes of material nature. Sometimes I've seen, believe it or not, somebody's doing fine, and then all of a sudden he goes into Ketu Dasha, or maybe Shani Dasha, and he loses it. Don't think it can't happen to you. It's happened to you already many times. So badly you've been beaten that you can't even remember it. This is how Maya works. Do you think that she's holding a Trishula for the demon underneath her? She's holding it for anybody who turns away from Krishna. What is that? Krishna Bahir Mukha? What is it? Bhagavan Chakare, Nikartastamaya Tare Japati Adhare. She takes you and throws you into this world, and once you're here, it's like a vortex. You're sucked down the drain and you can't do anything about it, no matter how hard you swim. Maya is very strong. Do not underestimate the power of Maya. So this swabhavic faith that we just inherit something from our grandmother, it's always the women, isn't it? The masjids are full of men, the temples are full of women. Hey, no? So, somehow or other it seems like they're the ones who are the more religious. So in families I see all the time the women are managing this dharma thing. Men are busy with C++ and all. There's a joke about this in America. IT ka matlab kya hai? International Telugu. Another one is IT stands for Indriya Tripti. Either way it works. So swabhavik Shraddha is not exactly enough. He says you have to gain Shastra Janya Shraddha. That means you have to sit with the devotees. You have to hear the Shastra. You have to take notes like some of you are doing. You have to really put some effort into this. Then you get purified on a deeper level. Then you get some Christian rapid fires his verses at you if you live in Kerala, and you're not fazed by it because you can understand everything. Or if the latest temptation appears on some billboard, or more likely on your cell phone, then you're not going to be moved because you remember, what does Krishna say about this? Naramate buddhaha. Things that have a beginning and an end, they're just meant to waste your time until the human form is taken away from you. You have a short window of opportunity, just like a lift. In the next building, we have a lift that goes to the guest house. So if you get in the lift, you can get in there and just sit there. That's fine. No one will complain. You can just stand in the lift and not push any buttons. But most people have a destination, so they push a button, and the lift takes you to that floor. Then the elevator door opens, and you have a choice to make. You don't have to get out of the elevator if you don't want to, but you push the button, so you should get out where you intended to go. Human life is just like this. And all these distractions, latest cell phones. In India, you can sell a cell phone just on the appeal of how well it takes selfies. Is it not a fact? In Vrindavan, I was in Guru Puja one day, and one gentleman was standing in front of me. About 2 inches away from my nose was the back of his head. And he's holding up his cell phone, and I'm thinking, okay, we're supposed to be more tolerant than a tree, more humble than a blade of grass, etc. So, I don't know, he maybe is coming from far, far away. He wants to get a picture of Srila Prabhupada. Rehne do. So then I realized, he had the thing inverse. The camera was pointing backwards, not at Srila Prabhupada. He was taking a picture. He was taking a selfie with all the Videshi Vaishnavas in the background. This was his intention. What to do? Anyway, my point is this. From cell phones or from whatever it comes from, whatever temptation Maya shows you, it is only intended to do one thing, and that is to distract you until you die again. And you're going to die again. Why do you have to keep dying like this? Why not do something about it? Do you think you can't do something about it? You can, if you open these books and read them. So this is called Shastra Janya Shraddha, the kind of faith that is really strong. That comes only from the pure devotees. So, Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Mamupashrataha Bahovo Jnana Tapasa. So, I said the first austerity of jnana is that you have to intake. You have to, so to speak, download this understanding. But that's not over yet. Because as soon as you hear, what do you have to do? You have to make a choice. The elevator door is going to open. Are you going to stay in the elevator and go somewhere else? Or are you going to get out? So the Prabhupada said hearing means, anybody know? Hearing means acting. When you hear something, you have to act on it. That is the hard part. Therefore, he says, Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chitete Koriyai Ke Arna Kori Homani Asha. Theek rahega, lekin Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttama Gati. Je Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. That is the hard part. Shri Guru Charane Rati. To have a real taste for the lotus feet of the spiritual master means you have to follow those instructions. You have to apply what you hear. You have to share what you hear. Apply it in your daily life. So that also makes knowledge and austerity. And then the final austerity, all the acharyas concur on this point. The final austerity of knowledge is that you have to share this knowledge, you have to give this knowledge to others who may not be very hungry. Have you had that experience? Generally when we first become devotees of Krishna, we're very enthusiastic to go home and preach to all of our family members. And generally we find out that they're not so impressed. They're not so eager, you see? Therefore, it's on austerity. How to find the way that this person can take Krishna consciousness. As I said earlier, you sometimes cannot directly give. Although in this country you should be able to give Krishna Nam without too much difficulty. But things are becoming so bad because of neglect that even in India, especially in India, I should say, it's becoming so difficult. I have a friend in Chennai. He's ICICI Bank president. So he told me we have a policy in our company. You cannot keep a picture of Krishna as your screensaver in your own office cubicle if you work for this bank. In India. Once in Hyderabad, I was in Osmania University Library, and I was walking up the stairs, and 4 or 5 young men were walking down the stairs, students. All of them dropped their jaws open all at the same time. And they said, well, why are you dressed like an Indian? So I looked at them and said, why are you all dressed like Americans? This is India. This is how we dress here, no? The Indian dress, Jaise taste, what is that? Jaise base? Well, yeah, so. Anyway, the point is that use it or lose it, to quote the English saying. You don't know how good you've got it here unless it's gone. And if you are too complacent or if you think too highly of yourself and are therefore disqualified, then you may lose it. This is the great danger. So this austerity of preaching is what I'm getting to. Preaching is an austerity. It's austere to gain the knowledge, it's austere to apply the knowledge, and it's austere to share that knowledge. So this is how the acharyas comment on this verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text number 10. But here's the main point I want to make. Srila Prabhupada does not comment in the same way as they do. In this one case, it's very rare. In Srila Prabhupada's own commentary on the verse, he amplifies the 3 things that Krishna says, snag everyone or catch everyone. What the word you have is bhatakna, right? To get stuck. Yeah, so this is what gets everyone in this world, the real pakara. Is raga, bhaya, krodha. And how do we understand these terms? Raga means attachment basically to sense gratification. It may be gross, it may be subtle, but we're attached. Sangat sanjayate kama. So that attachment to sense gratification is the one thing. Fear. What are we afraid of? Anybody know that purport? Prabhupada says, fear. Why is fear a problem for us? What are we afraid of? We're afraid of spiritual life. This is the problem. When you live in a materialistic society, especially in an atheistic society, you become fearful of your own spiritual identity. Prabhupada writes about this. You should study this purport. Again, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text number 10. Very, very, very important purport. So, raga, if sense gratification isn't enough to distract you until you die, then you've got krodha, which also militates against any endeavor for spiritual life because you're afraid of going there. Oh, what will happen if I give everything up for Krishna? What will happen if maybe if I go back to Godhead, I won't get a front row seat. I'll be frustrated. You see, people are afraid of their own personal spiritual identity. Or as Prabhupada writes, this is why you get so many Mayavadi businessmen from Coimbatore, for example, preaching so much bhagavad in the name of spirituality, because actually that's what people want. They're afraid of their spiritual constitution. They don't want to accommodate personality in spiritual life. That God is a person, I'm a person. Why is that? Because our only experience with persons in this world is that the relationships here are generally dysfunctional, isn't it? I love you today, but if you say the wrong thing, or if I find out this or that about you, then finished. The so-called love. If you have too much money, then you have to fear even from your own children. Sankaracharya writes, if we've all studied Hindu, do they still teach history in school, or do they only teach C++? Some history you learn. So those who know Indian history, you understand, there's hardly a single example of any king who ascended to the throne without killing either his father or his siblings. Don't know, Hindu or Muslim, no difference. This is the history. And it's like that everywhere in the world, practically speaking. He's my enemy and I've killed him. The other enemy remains, I'll kill him too. This is described in chapter 16, because we're demons. It's described the two kinds of natures in chapter 16, no? Divine and demoniac, Daivi Sampad. But Krishna only talks about the divine for like 3-4 verses, and then the rest of the chapter he talks about the demoniac. What does that tell you? This is what's relevant. We are the demons. We've got some serious work to do about that. This world is meant as a penitentiary, wherein we have to undergo a process of attitude adjustment. Otherwise, those Trishula of Maya is going to puncture us. The Trishula, what do the 3 points represent? Yes, Tapatraya. Adibhautik Klesh, Adhyatmik Klesh, Daivik Klesh. One or the other, or all of them. So, we're afraid of spiritual life. And finally, Krodha. What are we angry about? How does that factor into this picture? Raga, obvious. Everybody eats, everybody sleeps. Ityadi. Ahara nidra bhayamaitaram cha. So that's obvious. Fear, we've explained already. Fear of the unknown spiritual life. Unknown because nobody practices it publicly. You're not allowed, virtually. And then Krodha, Prabhupada translates, he explains rather, this Krodha means anger, but it actually means frustration. Because no one gets angry unless they're frustrated, isn't it? Krodhat bhavati sammohaha. Yes, when your desires are frustrated, then you become angry. So what are we frustrated about? I'm watching Asta, or I'm looking on YouTube, and I'm seeing, one day it's the Buddhists, and the next day it's, Sadhguru, and the next day it's Amachi, and the next day it's Iskcon, and the next day it's the Christians, and the next day it's the Islam, and, people get confused. Even a theologian will become confused. There's so many different ideas and so many different claims out there. So people just hang up on all of it. This is how society becomes so materialistic. We already have the inclination for raga, that sense gratification. We're already afraid of spiritual life. And then when we make any attempt to cultivate spirituality, we see things that don't match. Or even worse than all of the above, there's hypocrisy also. Even somebody who's preaching to me, I can see he's got problems. Or he's saying one thing, but he's doing another thing. You see? So we're frustrated, we're angry. Now, Prabhupada said, these are the real problems. Now, in the second half of his purport to this one verse that I'm explaining, 4:10, Bhagavad Gita, fortunately, Srila Prabhupada gives us the positive alternative. You don't have to sit here and rot in materialistic life and continually die time after time after time. There is an alternative. And what is that alternative? It begins with faith. Therefore, remember what we've spoken about, faith. Cultivate Shastra Janya Shraddha, very careful, through association with pure devotees. Devotees who are honest, who are actually following the standards of Krishna conscious behavior. In that association, your faith will be nourished. When your faith is nourished, you have to reinvest it into what? Where do you invest your faith in Krishna consciousness? Ādau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha. Sajati Ashaya Snigdhe Ityadi means we'll find the association of someone you can relate to, but the difference between you and her or him is that that person's faith is deeper than your faith. Otherwise, you have everything in common. This is called Sajatiya. Sajatiya Sangha. Rupa Goswami advises this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, Sajatiya Ashaya Snigdhe Sadhu Sangha Swato Vare. And the person has to be ahead of you in spiritual life. When you invest in this satsanga, then what happens next? Ādau Shraddha Tataha Sadhu Sangha Atha Bhajana Kriya. You will automatically be engaged in hearing about Krishna, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnoho Smaranam, Ityadi. 9 processes of bhajan. And what happens as a result of that bhajan? Anartha nivritti syat. All the ugly things in the heart will be churned out. Hote. Be patient. It may take some time. So these things will come out. They're frightening. Just like think of all the things that came out of the fire when Daksha performed his yajna, right? Think of all the things that came out of the milk, the churning of the ocean. Not everything was pleasing. Lakshmi came out, but what else came out? Visha came out. So many things came out. So when we're cleaning the heart, so many things may shock us. My God, this was in my heart. But stay fixed, and they will be destroyed. Nivritti. Almost to nothing. Prayeshu. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. Nityam bhagavata sevaya. So, then from anartha nivritti, what happens next? Nishtha. You become a little bit stable. Just like when we put a creeper in the ground and put a fence around it, it's protected. So it grows strong, then you can remove the protector. You can remove the fence, and it's not going to be knocked over. It's nishtha. This is nishtha. Nishtha ke baad kya hoga? Ruchi. You get a real deep taste at that point. What are we all tasting now? This is a shadow only, chaya. The real ruchi comes after anartha nivritti, when we're nishtha bhaktas. Then the real taste comes. That is a great mystery to most of us. And as a result of this real ruchi, deep ruchi, asakti hogi. Asakti means you become attached to it. Lo and behold, in the beginning we had raga, attachment. And after we go through this hard process of anartha nivritti, what remains? Attachment, asakti, same thing. But this is attachment to Krishna, is divine attachment. Everything mundane can have its spiritual counterpart because everything is personal. Personal, not impersonal. Asakti, tab, bhava. Therefore, Krishna says, Puta madbhavam agataha. You want to get to this bhava stage, you have to become purified by the austerity of knowledge. And we've already heard from Ramanujacharya. He says the austerity of knowledge, you know. Now you've heard. You have to acquire that knowledge. You have to preach that knowledge. It's not always easy. So, Vita raga bhaya krodha manmayam mamupashataha bahavo jnanatapasa puta madbhavam agataha. These things all came to me just off this one purport. Srila Prabhupada was speaking on this verse. Many purports, Srila Prabhupada offers something completely new. And this verse is another example because it could only have been written in the 20th century. And it could only have been written by Srila Prabhupada. Because it's very vital. It's very relevant to all of us. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I've already diverged too much. But let us continue with this purport. We're talking about how in Navadvīpa in the 16th century the Hindus were very lax in following their religion because they were discouraged by the government. And the Chandkazi has also noted this. So Prabhupada is writing in his commentary, actually that was the fact. Although the members of the so-called Hindu society had followed social customs and formulas, they had practically forgotten to execute their religious principles strictly. But with the presence of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they actually began following the regulative principles according to his order. That order is still existing, and anywhere and everywhere in all parts of the world one can execute it. Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki. I spend a lot of time in South India, and I've noticed in recent years that the amount of change that permanently altered the very character of North Indian society some 500 years ago. You know, the same degree of change that was affected by the Muslim presence 5 centuries ago, it's now happening in South India. But it's no longer through government influence, it's by telecommunications influence, commercial influence, multinational corporate influence. But it has changed the very character of the society in South India, which used to be known as a very orthodox place for Hindus. I've already described the situation in Thrissur. You can see it for yourself if you go there. But this is the point. Now we have the order of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and that order is very simple. Therefore, anyone can follow that order. What is the order? You chant Hare Kṛṣṇa. What is another verse? Bharata bhumite hoilo manusya janmajar janma sarthak kari koro parupakar. You first, janma sarthak kari means you have to become Krishna conscious first. This is a subordinate verb, kari. You expect to be a finite verb later on. So, janma sarthak kari. First you make your own birth safala. And then kari par upakar. Then you can do something for others. The adhikar will be there. Otherwise, if before you absorb this process fully yourself, if you go and try to help other people, without focusing on your own needs, spiritual needs enough, what's going to happen? Adhikarulanghana. You'll overstep your adhikar. Swe adhikare yanishta saguna parikirtataha. Krishna tells Uddhava in the Ekadasha Skandha, a person should be situated in exactly what his adhikar is. If you try to do too much, it leads to problems because you're not qualified. And if you settle for too little, you can do more than you're doing. That's also not good. It has to be exactly. When I was in college, they were telling us how to teach classes, and they said you have to aim for just 1 inch over the student's head. 1 inch. If you higher than that, you'll lose them because they'll be discouraged. Lower than that, they get bored and look at their cell phones. But, if you present them with a challenge and then inspire them to rise to that challenge, then they can actually learn something. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us this thing. Everybody in any position, anywhere in the world can chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody can take prasadam, especially in North India. I said every winter I'm in South India. Every 10 feet in places like Bangalore and Chennai, and every 10 feet there is a billboard for, it's going to be one of two things. It's either Chennai Silksa or Tanga Maligai. Means, jewelry. South Indians are too fond of jewelry. North Indians, they like to eat. It's a different ethos here. But anyway, everybody takes prasadam. And those who are a little bit thinking about what this is all about, we have so much philosophy is here. Śrīmad Bhagavatam pramanam amalam prema pumartho mahan. Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta matamedam tatradaro na paraha. So this is the idea. Very easy thing Srila Prabhupada has given us on the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, I'm only one Indian, one Bengali. I have followed this instruction. Jare deke tarikaha Krishna upadeshat yadi. Or bharata bhumite hoila manushya janmajar ityadi. He said, imagine if every Indian follows this instruction. There's no limit to what can be done. This whole world can be turned into Vaikuntha. Okay. The order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the order is to become a spiritual master under the direction of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu by following regulative principles, chanting daily at least 16 rounds of the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, and preaching the cult of Krishna consciousness all over the world. That is what it means when we say Janma Sarthakari. You follow the regulative principles. 4 regulative principles. What are they? Mamsari Bhakshar Nahi. And Avaidik Stri Sangha Nahi. And intoxication P or gambling. These 4 things. We don't do these things. And we chant 16 rounds. Sola. Not 14. Not, 8. 16. Those who are committed, they have to chant. And do your best to preach, whatever you, according to your realization. Sway adhikare, ityadi. Okay. If we adhere to the order of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu, we shall get spiritual strength, without a doubt. And we shall be free to preach this cult of the Hare Kṛṣṇa movement and not be hampered by anyone. So Srila Prabhupada used to say, we have nothing to fear from outside. Our only problem is inside. So, therefore we are stressing this point. Janma Sarthakari. First, you become a devotee, pure devotee. Then we can see. Okay. Now we've only done five or 6 verses, but it's time to stop now, I think. So I'm going to stop at text number 127. Is that okay? And then whoever begins next time. Does anybody have any questions or any comments on any of this? Yes, Prabhuji, Chashmawala.
Hare
Microphone.
Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhuji. Today is the first Tuesday of March month and 3rd March.
Okay.
So much thank you. My question is that you focused on the teachings of Lord Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And we all are the Brahma Badhva, Gaudiya Vaishnava sect followers. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Amara ājñā Guru hai. How we can recognize a true Guru and what is the duty of a true Guru? Please mention it. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
A true Guru is a true disciple.
Both, please.
Yes. And only such a person can preach Krishna consciousness successfully. We described already. Janmasartha Kori means you follow the orders of the spiritual master and be trained and become perfect in Krishna consciousness. Then your preaching will be successful everywhere. All it requires, purity is the force. We have the sign here in case anybody can't remember. It's there to remind us. So, and Prabhupada is emphasizing regulative principles. We have to discipline ourselves. Disciple means discipline. Niyam. So very, very necessary. So my emphasis is that a real spiritual master is a real disciple. You just focus on becoming a truly qualified disciple and then you are already a guru. Because there is no guru except Krishna. Krishnam vande jagat guru. Everybody else is pratiniti. So that's the idea. We just focus on make sure I am a good disciple. If we have that down, then everything else. Prakashante Mahatmana, Shvetashvatara Upanishad concludes. If we have that faith in our spiritual master, everything else is automatic. Just become a good disciple and sab kuch milega. Okay?
So much thank you. Your statement is like the icing on the cake. I am so much glad by your glamorous statement. Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Prabhupada. Yes, one more here in front.
Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhuji, thank you for a very nice lecture. You are mentioning about the adhikar point that we should do what our adhikar will prevail. So, how to check, how to
This is
judge?
why we have spiritual masters.
Oh.
This is what gurus are for. We our minds, our adhikar is way up here. Therefore, the guru has to come in and says, "You're nonsense." Then our adhikar comes down, and we get a realistic assessment. This is the point. Guru hona chahiye. Okay? In a word, that's the easy answer. Okay, if there's nothing else, then we can stop here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.